Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me this week, once again, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is today we're going to be talking about the new Fallout show. You're about a little over halfway through the season. I've only watched the first episode so far, but we can give her kind of initial pre-final, review thoughts on that kind of stuff. You've been playing Infection Free Zone, and I booted up Stardew Valley. Oddly enough, inspired by the recent big 1.6 patch, but I'm playing on console, which has not received the 1.6 patch yet, and I didn't realize that until I was like a season into it, and I was like, all right, well, I'm still just going to keep playing here. But before we dive into that, remember, if you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast if you can, all that fun stuff. So Cam, I'll let you kind of drive the conversation here around the Fallout show since you've just watched so much more of it than I have. But what do you think so far of the Fallout show?
I think that the Fallout show itself is... I'm of a couple of different minds on it. All positive. I think that this is a very much like... If you've heard that it's like, oh, hey, this is a great representation of the Fallout universe put to the screen, absolutely. I think they absolutely nail the feel and flow of it. Where you're at right now, episode 1, it's still heavily things are not as the characters themselves have not broken into the wasteland just yet.
Sure.
Wasteland stuff and kind of the thing that is really the next level of elevating to showcase more than just Vault and Brotherhood of Steel stuff, and the general what is wasteland life like in Los Angeles, starts happening in episode 2, and overall I think that it just does a really great representation of bringing what would probably be a video game world to life, the wasteland of LA, of Los Angeles, and kind of the really great iconic way that Bethesda and the Fallout franchise in and of itself have done a great job of taking kind of the real world as it exists and transplanting it into an apocalyptic wasteland, as far as it maintaining its strengths as far as atmosphere and the style and technology, as well as a lot of just in-universe stuff, a lot of fun in-universe stuff, whether it's seeing a rad roach for the first time is something, and you really get into the journey that these characters are going on. Overall, I think it's done a fantastic job of really nailing the aesthetic and the feel and atmosphere of Fallout. I feel these, and it's interesting because the three main characters, there's a lot of breakdowns you could go into it about how the different characters kind of represent different karmic approaches to the wasteland, as well as just overall backgrounds and things about it. None of the characters are ever feel out of place. I think that would be a big thing to get wrong, is to give somebody with what if they put a modern person or a smart person in there? And it's no, these are people who feel they are real, lived in the universe itself. And I've yet to find myself in a position where I see a character that isn't part of that world, which is a big concern for me whenever you get any sort of live adaptation of any kind of book or video game property where you have these characters all of a sudden that just don't fit within the universe itself. It's super common in adaptations, but I think we've done a really great job of kind of skipping over that, and not having that be a thing that's popped up lately in video game adaptations, especially Last of Us didn't have that issue. Detective Pikachu didn't have that issue. You haven't been having these issues versus something big sore thumb of it is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I don't know. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 veered into a wedding rom-com farce for the second act of that movie with a couple characters that felt a little outside of the Sonic universe. But
sure, but what does it do? It leads up to the introduction of the human organization that's canonical to Sonic, and sets up the organization surrounding Shadow the Hedgehog. Did they do it in a really weird out of offsides thing of the wedding whole subplot, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we got that awesome scene of the bride angry that her wedding was fake and just like going on a rampage in the golf cart, which was awesome.
Sure.
Like that was my payoff for that. Like kind of like boring nothing plot is like getting to see.
I don't think it was a boring nothing plot. I just think it was like, this is a weird plot for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Like we just spend 30 minutes or 20 minutes in just a wedding rom-com with very funny characters and very funny like
cool.
Will they won't they kind of stuff. It's just like, this isn't like this isn't in the video games. But yeah, anyway, back to Fallout.
Yeah, so overall I think they've totally nailed that. I still have to finish the series, but I will say probably the biggest the weakest link, it may not be the weakness of the show, it just might be me. I think this show would have definitely favored a week-to-week release. This show has a lot of like speculative, like
what's really going on.
Yeah, what's really going on.
Water cooler talk kind of thing.
Yeah, like a lot of this, there's more going on than what you're seeing that I think would pay off more for a week-to-week release.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because on the flip side of it, something that also is recently be coming through Amazon is Invincible, which is also another great adaptation, this time of a comic book being brought into animation. Where they're putting that out week to week, and I'm feeling like there's like the week to week release for Invincible is not hitting the way that like it could if I think it had dropped all at once. And then on the flip side of that, I think Fallout would have done better with a week to week release to kind of like stretch out the like kind of greater mystery surrounding everything.
I mean, on that, I think Invincible's biggest suffering is that they split up an 8-episode season into 2 half seasons.
Oh, that's fair.
So it was just like, okay, we're going to do 4 episodes week to week and then months until the next 4 episodes week to week.
For sure. That's another problem that they have for that one.
I would have much seen her because, and Invincible is also an interesting one because you and I have both read the story, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like we know, like we're not doing the like, oh, what does this mean kind of thing in the way that like a new audience would be who is unfamiliar. Like we can see the seeds that they're planting and the way the story's going, and those are fun like reveals for us. Versus if we were going in completely cold, where there's still like a speculative kind of thing. But I think the bigger issue there is, okay, just as we're getting up and season 4 ends with the big fights on Thraxis, and then boom, nothing for months, and then you have to like pick back up and be like, wait, where did things leave off? Where's Mark at? What's going on? For Fallout, I agree just based on my limited thing, and I think it very easily could have gone a completely different route, but like I know enough about the show to know they're really playing with like the Vault-Tec schemey, weird, experimental stuff, which opens up the whole like what's really going on and allows for a lot of fun speculation around that kind of thing. And it is so like me having only watched the first episode, I am like, okay, I see where they can be going a few different places with it. I think there is probably an element of, for a release strategy, I think video games are still a little bit more untested than comic book adaptations.
Sure.
So they probably had a little more faith in an audience showing up week to week for comic book adaptation, especially comic book adaptation from the guy behind The Walking Dead, a week-to-week series for many, many years, versus video game, still largely unknown. And you can have great, a great week-to-week experience with The Last of Us, but maybe they were like, hey, I mean, as it was, like originally it was supposed to drop on Friday, but they pushed it up a couple days to drop it on Wednesday, and had amazing word of mouth and is, up in the 90s on Rotten Tomato and stuff. So like, by and large, people are like, "Oh my god, this is like such a good series."
Absolutely, yeah. I think it could have used the week to week zeitgeist to help it, rather than it being like just dropped all at once and then people moving on.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I would like all the Netflix binge style stuff is, okay, it's going to suck up the room conversation for this weekend, and then that's it. Or maybe next weekend for the people who couldn't get it all done in one weekend. But yeah, by that time, all of the explainer videos and stuff are now a week out of date, and SEO search and all that. Like I agree. I think the week to week model in general is just better, especially from a just time management perspective. And it like, I could have sat down and binged the whole series this weekend, but I just like I'm enjoying Stardew, and that's I can't play Stardew and watch. I have to be like focused on both of these things if I really want to enjoy them. And so it was like, okay, this is the thing that's grabbing my attention right now. Fallout will still be there. I'll still get around to it. But I'm very glad it's here. And yeah, I think it would have been like if this were, hey, Fallout's going to be in the conversation for the next couple months, that would have been incredible, great. Especially with, I don't remember, like, I know they've announced that they're doing like an up version of Fallout 4 for like new gen consoles for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and stuff. I don't know when that comes out, but I wonder if like originally they planned on releasing that to coincide with like the end of like an 8-week run of the show. But yeah, I as somebody who's really only seen the first episode, I love the ideas it sets up. I love the kind of the open of pre-war stuff, much like I enjoyed it in Fallout 4, of like getting to see what this world looked like when it was clean and pristine. And the glitzy glam in the Hollywood Hills kind of thing. I love like all of the aesthetic choices of like seeing a Mr. Handy there, seeing like a Sugar Bombs ad and stuff, like all of the, I've picked up so many of those things in Fallout. Getting to enjoy that, getting that like perspective of the Walton Goggins character who will go on to become the Ghoul, and kind of like just getting him as like a down on his luck kind of actor who's resorting to playing birthday parties now of rich douchebags.
The journey they go with this character as they kind of like show it is not just the first episode. They continue to show off more and more of the pre-apocalyptic world to give you a real, and that's one of the strengths of the show is they really give you a like, this is not a story that's just about the world after. It's we're also going to tell you what led to it.
Yeah.
In a bigger way than they've ever done before. But like, because before it's always just been I shouldn't say hinted. It's been kind of beaten over the audience's head over the last 5 games about like a lot of this stuff that they're just now like outright saying, in regards to like who was responsible for like the like bombs popping off and all that stuff. Like they really get into that being a major plot point for the Cooper character, and also showing us like, this is because by the time we meet him as the Ghoul, he's very, very different.
Yeah.
And it's such a great way of kind of like being like, oh yeah, no, we're not just doing we're going to show you like one thing about this guy. We're going to show you like his journey that leads to him being the person that will end up becoming the Ghoul. And I still got like 3.5 episodes left, and I can't wait to really see where this goes with this character. Like, there's a lot going on about like the kind of like the mystery of the quote unquote modern man with Walter Goggins, Cooper pre-Ghoul.
Walton.
Yeah, Walton. Walton
Goggins, yeah.
Walton Goggins. Did I say Walter Goggins?
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
It's a common thing with him.
Yeah, Walton Goggins. One of the things I will say is I was on TikTok and an interview popped up of him like promoting the show on a podcast, and he talked about how he immediately like it piqued his interest when it came up when it came across him from his agent. When they brought it, like, when he was like, they basically be like, hey, you might be interested in this. Cause his son is a massive Fallout fan. And he knows about the game from like hearing his son, like talking to his son's friends and, talking to his son about it. Cause he's like, hey, should I do this? And this, like, they all got really excited about it. Cause they knew they heard like a show was happening for it. And then they're like, oh, so did you like sit down and play the game? And he said, no. He goes, after meeting the people behind everything, I knew, like, he goes, Jonathan Nolan is a massive fan of the franchise. Like, he goes, I knew I was going to be in a room full of people who would do the series, like, do the franchise justice. But I felt like we need to have a voice of somebody who is not inundated with this franchise, who's not inundated with this stuff. So there is, like, a fresh-eyed perspective of it. He goes, because I met some of the, like, I knew that I was going to be in a room with people who would make sure that this franchise was given the justice that it deserved. But I wanted there to be a balance between those people and like the regular, like, new viewer who's brand new to this whole thing. And he said, and I think it really worked out well because I asked a lot of questions that they didn't think about. And I'm like, that is such a cool, like, behind the scenes thing about like what I think also helps this show be better is it's not just made 100% purely by fans, because there is a level of degree of separation from fan service that this show, it nails its fan service, but it never serves it to you on a plate.
Yeah. I mean, I think that obviously a lot of the conversation right now is like the comparison between this and The Last of Us. And I think it is fascinating. The Last of Us obviously was such a, by and large, faithful adaptation to the story of The Last of Us, whereas the story of Fallout is so often the story that you create. Obviously, the game designers come up with kind of like a main campaign, but it also among 6+ games, 6, and there's also spin-offs and stuff, but like all of the Fallout games that are out there, obviously having their own stories, and like I would argue Fallout 1 and 2 are the most interconnected, and then Fallout 3 obviously with Bethesda completely starts something new, and 4 and New Vegas after that are telling like their own stories in the pocket of the universe, which is why for years I've thought Fallout would make an incredible like anthology series, a la like a True Detective, of like, okay, follow a different vault dweller or somebody, like follow a different central protagonist each season in a different part of the world or something like that. And I like here that their take on that is, okay, we're going to give you 3 different perspectives. We're going to give you a vault dweller who's like completely new to all of this and hasn't really encountered anything, and is the very like closed off, sheltered thing, a la, a Fallout 3 or something. And then you have, somebody who's been out there, joined the Brotherhood of Steel. You have somebody who has lived from pre-war as a ghoul, which is that's a perspective I'm incredibly excited to see and get more of with his character, because it is like there's always this like really cool thing of like, oh yeah, like some of these ghouls who haven't gone feral are pre-war. They're like they've lived a life.
In Fallout 4, like, and I apologize if this is like such a minor spoiler that it's not a big deal. You run into the guy who sells you on the vault at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I know that's in the game. I've never encountered him.
That's crazy.
In my time with Fallout. I remember seeing like the screenshots of him as a ghoul, and I'm like it bums me out that I never actually ran into him in the game. But it was like that cool, oh my God, yeah, like this person's still around all these years later. And it must have been such an interesting, like, I don't know how deep it gets into it, but like, yeah, everybody that guy knew died years ago.
Yep.
So for your character who got like frozen in time kind of thing to come out is like a weird, surreal thing.
It is such a trip because, in Fallout 4, you play a protagonist who you are part of a vault experiment where you are put on cryogenic like ice to test like the success of cryogenic technology. And you run into the guy then like 200 plus years later, who is just like a ghoul. He's still in the same outfit because he was caught up in the blast. And it's just a straight up, just like such a shell shock for the character to be like, wait, how are you alive? Like, what happened? And it like, then we get into like, this guy was a vault tech salesman and didn't get us and never was able to secure a place in a vault.
Yeah.
And it leads you to like, the vault dwellers are like, these are the descendants of the people who had. And it like that brings up this like whole thing about like prosperity and wealth. And so Lucy, who's one of the main characters, is a vault dweller who, at the very end of the first episode, like leaves the vault to, go on her journey. And it is 100% like she is playing the like karmic good, like helping somebody out. Okie dokie. Like
doe-eyed, naive. Yeah.
But here's the thing, she's extremely capable. Like she's very much like one of the most capable characters in her like skill set.
Yeah, I like even the introduction to her characters, her kind of rattling off like her resume and stuff, and it's almost like the kind of like choose your own character sequence from Fallout 3 of like, okay, here are the things she's put points into.
Yep.
Acrobatics, like rifles or whatever, speech, Yeah, it's like it is and I've seen like a couple sites trying to do this of like let's try and like build these character build outs based on like what we see from the show.
Yeah, she is. It's really great. The only character that felt like wasn't so hot on is Maximus, who's the Brotherhood of Steel character. I will say, like, the common people were saying is like by around episode 5, you really get deeper into his character and it works. He's a lot better. And I have to say, I agree with just what I've gone through. I'm halfway through episode 5 already. Halfway through episode 5, I've really come far with this character. Because just over they don't shove all of this character into your face. They really make you come to care about this character. By the time you're like, I'm halfway through episode 5, this character is such a, like, we saw, like, you see the ghoul, you see Lucy? Yeah. And then you have this character who's kind of in the middle, and that kind of neutrality makes it so he's not really shining. It isn't until he gets into close proximity with some of the other characters that kind of neutrality takes on its own flavor of an approach of a very interesting play style. If you were looking at it from that perspective, of like, what is it like when you're in this wasteland, but you have like neutral karma? How do you make it through this entire game with just neutral karma? Like what kind of a person is that? And I'm like, very much this is that.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating.
It is the like, okay, sometimes you do some good things, but then you do some bad things and it kind of balances out.
And it's really just like, it's selfish. Like, it's a lot of selfish things. So the things he does that are bad and the things that he does that are good both end up being on the karmic scale. It ends up him being neutral, but by the time halfway through episode 5, he is a very like self-centered character where like he is very much focused on like the things that are important to him. And the thing is, you find out why. Like, this is not like like if he was the Vault Dweller and that was his kind of like perspective and like personality, he would very much be like way more into villain territory. But when you find out more about him and his backstory and what he's been through, you realize this is very much like the ghoul is, what does it take? Like, what changes a person? Like, what does 250 years of being in the wasteland do to change a person? This is very much like what does it mean to just be a person born and raised in this wasteland? And how do you come out not being a psychopathic freak? And it really plays into that a really great deal, because you kind of like meet like some fiends who are like, I don't think I'll ever forget the first time you see a fiend. Like, you realize it's a fiend because they smile and you see their teeth and you're like, oh crap, okay. Like, they really play into like the different kind of like wastelanders, because you have like people who live in towns, you have some people who live out on their own properties and stuff, and it's really running the full gambit, and they're really doing such a great job of giving that level of diversity to the wasteland, and it's done incredibly well.
Yeah.
And with really good, solid Fallout humor too. Like, the humor is quintessentially Fallout. A lot of irony.
Yeah. It was the like in the first in the opening episode, it like I'm in the Lucy storyline. I'm like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm trying to figure out like, okay, what's about to happen. Like, this is all way too clean. I've seen enough trailers to know this isn't going to end well, and she's going to leave the vault. So like, what happens here? What's going to kind of kick off her journey? And the scene that we get where her basically her new husband that she's kind of matched with is like, this really was the best day of my life. I was like, oh God. Like, and then the bloody Fallout ridden aftermath that happens after that was a ton of fun, and just like the like Fallout, like, it is like Vats level of gore, kind of bodies exploding and stuff like that.
Somebody takes a fork to the eye.
Yeah, somebody
and she gets a gun and she starts shooting the gun while she has a fork in her eye. Yeah. She's pregnant. Like, it is wild, crazy shit, and it's great.
The guy who gets cut in half by the the vault door closing was like, yeah, that would be a bad way to go. But yeah, so I imagine, or I mean, even from like trailers and stuff I've seen, like, oh yeah, like somebody gets shot and it's just like a hole in in their chest and stuff. I wasn't. This is where like I'll ultimately need to like rewatch the first episode even because I was like I had it on my phone while playing Stardew or something, and so like the ghoul sequence at the end where like he gets basically dug up to go on a job and like that goes into a bloody mess. I wasn't really paying attention. I was hearing it and being like, oh, somebody just got a shotgun to the chest or something. That probably looks bad.
It's bad. Yeah, no, it's done so beautifully because it is that hyper violence, and it pairs with the kind of like the post-apocalyptic 50s aesthetic of like, you know, white picket fences and everything, and then but in truth it is like the brutality of the wasteland prevails. One of the things also that I'll say is the way they definitely show off the way different calibers of guns are used and what effects they have are massive. Walton Goggins' Ghoul has a pistol that is like like
the 45 Magnum.
It's the 45 Magnum.
Yeah.
And so it puts holes in people. And then you see somebody with like, at one point, Lucy gets like a 10 millimeter, like the classic 10 millimeter pistol from Fallout. And it's just like it's so cool to see so many like of these like classic game weapon designs. Also, at one point, shout out to Fallout 4 and kind of the pipe weaponry that they introduced in that game as part of like the Wastelander pipe stuff, kind of the makeshift stuff. Because if somebody picks up a pistol from a dead person, like one of the dead fiends, and it's a pipe pistol, and I'm like, that is so cool. Like fiends would have pipe pistols and this low tech stuff versus, you know, like the other stuff like that. A ghoul who's accumulated wealth over the course of his lifetime, over 250 years, has like this sick ass arsenal of weapons. It's great.
I don't remember if it was from the first episode or if it was like one of the times you were watching it out in the living room and I just like caught something, but I did love seeing like the junk gun in use and like basically somebody getting shot and it's just like a doll part or something sticking out. Just being like, yep, fuck that gun.
Junk gun is great. Gosh, yeah, no, there's so many great like.
I mean, the other thing we talked about, especially going back just to that first episode, the like when we go into a like vault that has been like decimated by raiders and stuff, like just how like one-to-one that looks and feels with like the decrepit vaults that you encounter in Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4. It's like, oh my, like
the weird creepy empty cribs.
Like, the design is just so like they nail the aesthetic, and because it is like that like retro future plus apocalypse kind of like thing that is uniquely Fallout, that has just been like a ton of fun to enjoy. And that is again why like I don't want to try and like split my focus on this. It is I at some point I just need to sit down and like just let this wash over my eyes, as such a big fan of the series, and just kind of get to enjoy it.
Yeah, for me, I like this is very much a like I will say the weakness of the show is that it doesn't grip you for like a binge. I never feel like I'm gripped for like a serious binge of it.
There's no like, okay, that episode's done, I need to immediately start with the next episode.
I never feel that way. I always feel like, oh, that was the episode, cool, I need to take a break.
I mean, from a binge perspective though, like binge versus the week to week, like we were talking about earlier, if you don't if it doesn't end with that cliffhanger, like that's where you would see drop off in a week to week series of like, if you're not feeling it after an episode to immediately like jump into the next episode, like how would you have felt if it was okay, yeah, you're gonna sit down and you have to wait 7 days until you watch the next one? Are you gonna do that, or are you gonna find other things to do and it just kind of falls off? That's the conversation that always happens with the week to week versus the binge.
I think there's enough of like here's my thing, the shows, it's an hour-long episodes. Doing more than 2 back to back is somewhat tiring. But also, I will support.
I mean, there's definitely it always depends on like your constitution. Like I remember like when the first Daredevil season came out on Netflix and just like binging that whole thing in a weekend, and I had the patience and constitution to do that. And yeah, these days I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested in sitting down to 9 hours of a thing back to back to back. unless it's a video game, because I will still put like 12 hours into a game on a on a Saturday or Sunday. But yeah, I think there is a, we're getting too old for this.
I think that might have been the case too. Is like I definitely felt like, and it's like, here's the thing I also want to say is I also felt this about like Renegade Nell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, I finished 2 episodes, and it's like I'm curious about what happens, but at the same time, like it's like 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to go to sleep. Like nothing. Like the last couple weeks it's just like my age has hit me.
Yeah,
and it's just like in a very real way. Yeah. And you have seen it. Like you have observed it happening. I like. If I'm out on the couch after 10 p.m., the chances are I'm falling asleep.
Yeah, it is not an uncommon occurrence for me to like hear you snoring, come out and be like, "Hey Cam, I think you should probably go to bed," so I don't just hear your snoring down the hallway for the next hour.
And what you'll hear in response is,
"Yeah, good call. Yep,
good call. Idea. You're right. Let me get up. All right, I'll go back to my room and go to bed."
Yeah.
Like it's very like. I've never felt so like this. I don't know if it's just because like I'm at a point where even I'm recognizing I really need to take it like a small vacation from work. If that's like, I feel like a lot of things have come to a head where it's just like my age and I've been burning a lot at work. And I'm kind of like I finished up a lot of things at work. Mm-hmm. And like today was like a day where I was like, I had things planned that I was going to do. I woke up and I was like, I just don't feel great today. Mm-hmm. I feel tired and I feel exhausted and I just want to sleep more. But I also need to do laundry at the very least. So I got up a couple times to do laundry.
Did you do that?
Yeah, I did my laundry.
Because I went and grabbed like lunch with my family today. And so like you were still asleep when I left. And then when I got back, like you were up, but like within like half an hour, I feel like you were back in bed and asleep again. So I was like, all right, it's one of those days. And I fully get that. I fully have those days where I'm like, I'm going to just be in my room. I'm going to be up sometimes, play a little game, then go back to sleep and then wake up a few hours later and just kind of like zone out and do my own things.
For me, it was mostly just like I'm just going to have TikTok and YouTube and other things on my phone. And I'm just going to like, just if I sleep, I sleep. If I'm not asleep, I won't be asleep. But a couple of times, like I got up 3 times out of bed today, and it was to throw in my laundry in the washer, then move it over to the dryer, and then bring it in.
Yeah.
And then when I brought it in, it's like it's late enough. Let me go get dinner, and I did all of that, and like so, it's like I am now like counting down the hours till I get to go back to my bed and sleep. So like this is like very real. Like this is my age definitely catching up with me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just my life catching up to me at this point. So
sure.
I need to like do a little make good on that. Coming up soon, I'm going to be taking some time off of work, like for real, taking time off of work.
Sure. You will, Cam.
I've looked at the days. I'm looking at putting in the hours.
Okay.
But I have a couple of like floating half days that I need to like account for first. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be using those first. I have like a day and a half banked on that. So I'm going to put that in there and then like take up some other time as well.
Meanwhile, I've already got my next Disney trip booked. So,
listen,
and then I've got Logan's wedding booked after that. So yeah, like I've already got like 2 more vacations on my calendar and ready to go.
And I'm looking and considering serious dates for my first one since I went to PAX West. Because before I was like, oh, it's my niece's wedding. It's like, oh no, I did go to Seattle in September. And I feel so far behind after that trip for just being out of the office for 2 days. It's like I fell so far behind, and it's just been. I've just I have there is so much that I had to the last like 6 months I've had at work that I've had to been in charge of and had to do that I don't anymore. And like I don't have any like live or big things after this upcoming Saturday. That for the first time, I don't have anything really big going on until graduation week. So like between after this Saturday, Discovery Day for my university, and then graduation, I don't have any big events.
Sure.
And so I don't have anything I'm planning around. It's just my job in this quarter. I talked to my boss. I was like, I need to scale back, and she agreed. And so like I am now like I'm basically it's like I just need to get really ahead at my job duties, and then I'm just gonna take some time off, and that should be done after this Saturday. So.
Yeah. And then you have plenty of time to binge Fallout or go back to Renegade Nell or whatever else you're going to watch, you can catch up on X-Men 97.
There we go. Oh gosh, something to catch up on X-Men 97.
Yeah. So yeah, any other thoughts on Fallout before we move on?
It's really good. People should watch it. If you have Amazon Prime, I definitely suggest it. And shout out to Samsung for spending so much money that they've basically taken up the ad space for all of Fallout. Like it's like you see a 25-second ad for the new Samsung Galaxy phone, and then you get to watch an uninterrupted hour of Fallout. Like, good on, like, I'm like, hey, listen, when they had introduced, hey, we're going to be doing ads, I was like, this is going to suck. But their introduction to ads being like pretty in
for now. We'll see.
They will escalate.
They will.
It is Amazon. They'll escalate.
They're going to just keep pouring money into that because they want you to pay either for the higher service level or they'll make the money off the ads. Well, so moving on from Fallout to another apocalypse kind of vibe. I don't know. Based on the title, at least, I'll say that. Infection Free Zone. I feel like you've talked about this with me at least once before. I don't know if it was on a podcast or not, but tell me about Infection Free Zone.
So Infection Free Zone is utilizing elements of AR like Google Maps and stuff like that, and taking a real world area, like a square,
right?
Area.
This was something you played at PAX then, because I remember that being.
I didn't play it at PAX. I got the prologue demo either before or after PAX last year. And I played it and I talked about it. Like, this is, you get like a square of a map of real life.
Got it. Yeah, I remember when we talked about it, I looked up like the Steam page and saw like, oh, there's France and there's the Eiffel Tower kind of thing.
Yep. And I will let you know, I have been playing here.
Okay.
I've been playing where we live, the very like same square of like our gas station and our other like stores around us and buildings and whatnot. Like, I don't want to dox us, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but they do an amazing job of big landmarks as far as it goes of like our larger buildings. The part where it kind of falls through is it thinks that there are like more stores around us than there are when they're houses. Other than that, like they just
or it's just like populating them because that's going to make for a better experience.
And that's really what it is. Is they do a really great job of taking a real square area of Google Maps and making it a viable like survival game. And it is it's a mix of base building and exploration, but it's all done through like RTS style map movement and management, resource management that way, that it's much more top down. It has that isometric feel to it. And as you zoom out, you can see like this larger map area. I will say this game is tough. This game is really tough. Even playing it on the easiest, like very easy difficulty, there is a level of strategy that you need to pick up. Otherwise you will get swarmed and killed. I have played through no less than like 6 or 7 runs. And I get further each time, but it is very much a game of management and like exploring your space that's around you and kind of like establishing like the kind of like objectives that the game gives you as part of its story, which I think is where it really shines at, is that it does give you a level of objectives, like larger objectives that are part of an overarching story. But you are part of what's called the Infection Free Zone. You basically, everybody held up in a shelter during the apocalypse, and now everybody's kind of like coming out and you're trying to like piece things together. And it's a lot less of a direct, like personal narrative, so much as it's this narrative of this group that's going out and trying to reestablish humanity. Like it is very much it does such a great job of letting you kind of like it lets you make the mistakes. It holds your hand enough to tell you like, yeah, do this or do that. But it is still like open enough that like it is easy for you to slip through the cracks and make a mistake and fall behind on stuff and then get swarmed and killed at night. Also to throw some stuff in there, like all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, it's a full moon out, which means there's enough illumination that zombies aren't going to be coming out. So you can still have your crews go out and explore over that night and not have to worry about them getting attacked. But then there are days where things are overcast, like there's a storm, and so zombies come out and they attack your base. And the AI is really cool because they move as like packs and swarms rather than like individual zombies. And so the way they move is in packs as different packs come through. and then eventually you find like there's an alpha one. There's somewhere like one of the things is it pops up is like there was a child, and you're like, are they reproducing? Is it just an undead kid? Like what's going on? And it's like there's a greater mystery going on throughout all of this. I've been having a great time with it. I've been playing it over the last 2 weeks. Granted, we've had like major spoiler casts, so I haven't talked about it on the show. But this is all like me making good on it because I said, yeah, I'll talk about it on our show. And so they sent me the copy or like a key for it, an early access key. And so it's still in early access. They're consistently improving on it. I will say the prologue demo that I played, going from that to what I'm actually playing in the early access, there is a pretty significant step up from it. And I have to say, like, I'm very impressed. They have a pretty solid roadmap. We'll see where it goes, but so far, so good. I definitely think that this is what I've had my eye on for a while because I've had kind of like been wanting a game like this for a long time. When you and I talked about like kind of like our ideal games that we might build, this is definitely filling like kind of like that survival like post-apocalyptic zombie game that I've talked to you about. Probably not for like a good, probably 5 years. We haven't talked about it.
I was gonna say I don't remember this being a topic of
conversation. This is one of like our afternoons at Portillo's where we would just talk about everything. Like I think this came up once, but this is something that I've been wanting for a while. It's not exactly the way that I would want it, or I would do it myself. I say as somebody who has zero experience with game development, but overall, I think it's very, very good. I would definitely say check it out if it seems like your bag. Hop in. I think it does such a great job of bringing a sense of reality in its scope and its scale. It is really about like maintaining a presence and maintaining security and maintaining your territory, much less than we're on like you're on your railroad or you're on your narrative road that you have to go down in some zombie games, or a shooting gallery type one, like say Left 4 Dead or something like that, where you are kind of like on a trajectory and how you do it can vary and what kind of weapons and everything. And these zombies you encounter can differ. It's very much taking a less interconnected approach to that of the like kind of first person perspective, and giving you much more of that top-down management perspective of a kind of post-apocalyptic game. So, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the like you can play basically anywhere. Like, what is that interface looking like? Is it just you like zoom in on a Google Maps type thing, or?
So it's pretty cool. It starts you off by giving you like a list of areas you can select from, or you can select your own custom area. And if you do that,
give like longitude and latitude lines kind of thing.
No, like you can actually like say like you put in like the city or town or like area that you want to go to. There's also find a like cool place based on my location, and they'll do like a geolocate on you.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so like it'll be like if I did that, it popped me into like the middle of the Phoenix metro area, and I was like, no, I want, and like, let me take control of that and let me go specifically to like where I want to go. And it gives you more of like that Google Maps aspect of it after you kind of like go into an area. And then you can kind of like zoom in. This is the square I want. It brings it full, like further up on you. It shows you like what it looks like on the map. And then it kind of like your first time playing a new square, it takes a while to load because it is taking all of that Google Maps data and like, implementing it, taking it from that kind of like AR aspect of it to actual gameplay. So
it's doing what Microsoft Flight Simulator chugs to do all the time.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. I definitely think it's one of those games people should be checking out. So
yeah. All right. Very cool. All right. Any final thoughts, or are we good to move on?
I think we're good to move on. Let's talk about like one of my favorite games of all time, and the game that you've been putting way more time into it, but I've been putting a little bit more time into mine as well.
Okay. So Stardew Valley. Basically, I'm back down that rabbit hole, back on that BS.
Good.
In large part because it was, in the conversation recently because of the big 1.6 patch. But like I said at the top of the show, I was like, I don't really feel like sitting in here playing on kind of my PC or anything like I did with the original game. And I was like, like I went through my like digital library. I was like, I swear I bought Stardew Valley on PlayStation, but I couldn't find it in my library. And I was like, wait, let me come in here and yeah, I found that I did have the physical copy of the game for PS4. So I was like, all right, there we go. I'll boot that up. And yeah, I'm in the second winter now, and I've been playing like a week and a half. It's just been like, this is what I'm doing when I get off work. You've been having your kind of like crash and do stuff on the couch. Let me go back to my room and I'm gonna hang out in there and play some Stardew, and it's so fun. Yeah, we both fell in love with the game originally back when it first came out, as shared fans of like the old Harvest Moon series, and it was one of those, like, I remember Stardew Valley blowing up pretty quickly and being like, where the hell were all of you people when Harvest Moon was on the Super Nintendo? We could have had like just gangbusters of that series for Natsume, but no, you botched it, and then Natsume botched it more, and so now we've got the Story of Seasons games basically trying to like make those games good, versus the actual Harvest Moon ones that are just constantly like blaware.
Where were you people when Back to Nature was a thing on my PlayStation 1? Like,
exactly.
Where were all of you? Like, there were so few of us. There was only one guide, yet
you take away you take away Final Fantasy, and my PlayStation 1 was my Harvest Moon Back to Nature system.
Absolutely.
I have the guide in the closet behind you, for that.
There was one guide on GameFAQs, and it was the greatest guide of all time.
Well, I have like I think it was the Prima one.
You have the Prima one. I'm talking about the one on GameFAQs, though. Like, the person who made this one on GameFAQs did the whole, like, I'm going to make the logo out of, like, symbols.
Oh, yeah. All the ASCII art, yeah.
Yeah, all the ASCII art. Like, shout out to the person who made that, because you literally, like, over the years, after playing through that game, you'd be like, wait, what do I need to do for this? Like, thank you so much. Whoever you are out there, you are people.
I mean, their name's probably on it.
It is probably on it.
Find out who they are.
Can you still go to GameFAQs though? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay.
GameSpot bought them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Or I think GameSpot might be IGN. One of the big sites basically bought it and kind of like hosts it now. But
GameFAQs was the God. I spent so much time on GameFAQs.com.
Yeah. Same. GameFAQs. Yeah, GameFAQs.GameSpot is what you'll get directed to. So GameSpot snatched them up.
Yeah, just shout out to all those independent people out there, guide writers, back when it was just, we talk about it sometimes.
I mean, I was using GameFAQs for Like a Dragon Gaiden last year. Yeah, to be like, okay, like, what are strategies I should be using for, these different things? What answers should I be saying to max out skills or whatever? And like, or to quickly do like the host stuff. I think it was like, what are the right answers to do? And it was, actually it was for Yakuza 3, 4, and Gaiden, because it was just, they put together some really good, they're not just text anymore. They've got links taking you from different walkthrough portions and stuff. And I was just like, shout out GameFAQs. Anyway, Stardew Valley. So it's been back in kind of the conversation, and I've more or less given up on trying to go get that Final Fantasy VII Platinum. So for a little while there, I fell back into Balatro, which we talked about a number of weeks back on the show, and was having a ton of fun with that. And then Stardew basically has come in and just like taken up my attention and focus. And it's just like, it is the quintessential kind of comfort food game, I think. Just kind of like, I say, okay, here's the goal I'm setting for myself. I want to go, the next thing I want to upgrade on my house. I want to get a barn. Okay, so I can then get some cows and stuff. Okay, then I'll take some time. Oh, it's raining. Great. I don't have to water the plants. So what can I do? I'm going to go to the dungeon today, and I'm going to try and clear the next 5 levels in that, so I can kind of get that checkpoint. And it's just, it's so much fun. I've got, I don't know, I'm like 200 and I think I've got like my house fully upgraded, and I've got a fully upgraded coop and a fully upgraded barn. The community center's all cleared. I've not done the movie theater, which I don't think was a thing when I originally played it. I think that
it was not. No, that's
added,
a newer thing.
Yeah, I think that was added in a new patch. It's basically like, spoilers, but like once you clear either the community center or buy everything, all the membership levels at JoJo Mart, the one that gets like run down gets a new bundle, a la the community center stuff, and it's like, okay, now like give a prismatic shard, give some caviar. It's like 6 super elite kind of items.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they will, like, once you do that, the Juminos will basically turn that space into a movie theater in town kind of thing. And you can, and there's like new extra stuff you can do there. I also don't remember, was the Ginger Island a thing when you originally played?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I think that's a new thing for me too. So yeah, like it's at some point, like after you do the community center stuff, Willie, the fish guy, the fisherman, like will open like his back room basically, and there's like a rundown.
Yes, no. Here's the
ship
thing.
in there. Okay.
I ran into this recently in my in the playthrough that I kicked up on my Switch recently, where that got brought up. Like I talked to Williams, was like, "Hey, yeah, come behind my shop," and so I have actually been collecting stuff to do that. So that's Ginger Island then. Cool.
Basically, yeah, you fix up this ship and then you go off to Ginger Island, which is like it's like a different version of like the Calico Desert kind of thing of like, okay, here's a little tropical island that is, you know, partially locked off, and you're there collecting a new currency of golden walnuts, and there's a new dungeon you can go investigate. I've only gone like once, and then I was like, okay, I've still got plenty of stuff to do back in Pelican Town, so I'm gonna finish all that stuff up and feel good about that, and then eventually I'll come back and explore some of what this stuff is. But yeah, I was like, I you know, with a whole town full of people that I could have like romanced and stuff, I was like, I'm gonna go back with Abigail and just kind of like do that comfort food. I know she loves amethysts; those are a very easy gem to get, so I'm just gonna give her a couple amethysts a week and just kind of like we got married, we've got a kid on the way, and just kind of like just enjoying that. Like I said, I'm about to hit the end of year 2, so I'll get like the grandfather sequence, which is pretty much where I stopped playing originally, and really like. In part because there were just other things that were drawing my attention back when the original game came out. But right now I'm just kind of like enjoying a lull in between games. There isn't really something that is like the next big thing I want to jump into. So it is like, okay, this is a thing I'm just enjoying to pass the time. It basically, it would be this or going back to yet another Baldur's Gate 3 let's play or playthrough. And I'm like, yeah, I'll continue taking some extended time away from Baldur's Gate 3. Especially with the sad news that Larian's not going to be like doing DLC for it or expansion or anything. I'm like, oh, bummer. But you know, they've given us plenty.
They certainly have, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's fun kind of experiencing new elements of the game. Even smaller things that I'm like, I'm pretty sure this wasn't a thing when I first played. There's like, in addition to like the little bulletin board outside of Pierre's.
Yep, there's now a bigger one.
A bigger one that has like some larger like challenges and things, and you get some fun rewards along those too. I've got like I looked up you know, what's the best way to like min-max your greenhouse, and so I've got like 18 trees scattered around the corners, and then just I've got 4 iridium sprinklers placed in there, or no, 6 iridium sprinklers. Yeah, 6 iridium sprinklers, so that the whole area gets watered automatically. And I'm just I threw a few cactus down because they can only grow indoors, and then every other spot is basically ancient seeds that are just going to be like bringing in crap tons of money every couple days for me. Since that those are a thing I generally like. I plant those, you know, first thing in the normal fields in January. But yeah, basically just getting that all ramped up. Been doing a lot like in the winter session that I'm in right now. Been going to the Skull Cave a lot in the desert. I like the challenge is like get to the 100th floor, and I'm like I'm
that's such a hard one.
I'm barely getting to like the 30. I think the deepest I've gotten is like the 36th floor.
Those are really, really hard.
Yeah, because I mean, so much of it is like RNG of like, do you get a hole and just get to drop down, you know, 7 levels at a time kind of thing, or are you doing like step by step? But because I've like got so many other things that I'm doing and worrying about on the farm, it's like the earliest I get there is like 1 o'clock.
Yep.
And so it's like, all right, I've only got like half of the day to still try and do this. There are a lot of times I just like completely lose track of time and just fall asleep in the cave. And I'm like, thank God I only lose money for that.
Yep.
Versus like dying in a cave where you lose items. When that happens, I'm like, nope, reloading a new save, not letting that, not letting that take.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just having a ton of fun. It's such like a comfort thing. I love the like min maxing. I don't think I did this the first time, but I just got access to Mr. Key's casino.
Oh, nice.
In
Yeah,
the
no,
desert.
I've gotten
So, and I racked up some coins on the slots and bought the last rare crow that I did not have.
that. Nice.
So I've got like all 8, which then gives you like here's the recipe for a deluxe rare crow or deluxe scarecrow thing. That's like, okay, I could cover my like pretty much my entire crop area with like 2 of these guys. Yeah, just having fun. I'm already kind of like putting a plan in, like, okay, here's the layout I'm going to go with when it's spring again, and I've been part of it is I've been spending a bunch of time because I've still been manually watering stuff a whole bunch of the game. At this point, I'm just gonna be like, no, I've got the iridium bars. I'm just gonna make a whole bunch of iridium sprinklers to just get big swaths of the area, so I don't need to spend my time kind of watering most days and stuff. So yeah, just trying to work smarter, not harder in my fake farm life.
There you go.
I guess, especially as I've got a baby on the way and, probably a second one behind.
I'm at right now in my playthrough. I am working on the ship, unlock the big, larger board. Haven't checked out like the JoJo Mart, turning that into a movie theater yet. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so you fully finished the community center?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's basically like effectively what it is, and so maybe you might not even be able to do this yet, depending on, I don't know how long you hopped back in and have been playing, but it's basically like the first rainy day after you complete the community center, a lightning strikes and like it cracks open the door for the closed down JoJo Mart, and basically you can go in that like cracked open door now, and there'll be like a bundle in there to do.
That sounds cool. Okay.
Did also, this is another thing. When we first originally played, was there a basement option as part of the extension on the house? Okay, I did not remember that.
That is where I put I have barrels and casks and stuff that I'm running.
Because one of the things you need for the movie theater one is like a wine bottle, artisan wine of like Silver Star or better. And I was like, I don't even know how to do that.
I got that in the bag.
Because I had not done the basement, but I've got it now. I've got the 30 casks that they kind of start you up with there. I've got them just all full.
Yeah, I run a lot of blueberry and like salmonberry wines.
Yeah.
But I've got like some extra nice ones with like some like other stuff going on with it. So.
Yeah, I got a handful of ancient fruit wines. I've been throwing some of my goat cheese and regular cheese in there, getting that up to Iridium Star.
Yep.
I mean, like all this just
also do a lot of jams.
No real reason. I've got like 4 mini fridges in the house, so I've got like basically all of my food in there, so I can just draw from it with if I want to do any cooking kind of thing.
Yep.
I've got like chests outside where it's like, okay, this is the chest for my building supplies. This is the chest for my seeds. This is the chest for my fishing gear. This is the chest for like my my gems. And like I basically got like little like I've got a method to my madness. Oh, I'm gonna go to the mine. Okay, I'm gonna go to this chest. I'm going to put all of the stuff I don't need for the mine in this chest so that it's all in one place when I come back and need to, go and milk my cows again or something like that. But yeah, even there's better, like, okay, I really filled up like the top right corner by the shipping bin with like a couple seed makers, a couple oil makers and some chests and stuff. It's like, I could, now that I am much more in a place of like, okay, now I know how I'm laying out my farm and stuff. I could better, handle this stuff compared to like, oh, I really wish I hadn't put a silo there. Or I wish I had left some space between the barn and the greenhouse instead of like butting it right up against one another, because I put some trees that I, tapped, like I put an oak, a maple, and a pine tree, kind of like, so I've got them tapped, and we'll get the stuff there. When you do the cave, do you do mushrooms or do you fruit bats?
I've historically done mushrooms.
Yeah, me too.
I've regretted not doing fruit bats, but it is what it is.
I mean, especially now that I've got the greenhouse, I've got a couple of each fruit every day, basically dropping. But even outside of that, I have like, here's my little orchard area. But I forgot how long they take to grow, and so I was like, all right, well, I waited until like spring 1 to start planting my spring 1 trees, and basically they were not done until until after summer. So I was like, well, I'm not going to get those until year 3, I guess.
Trees are those long-term investments.
Yeah. And they give you a tree fertilizer, which is a thing also I did not remember, but they specifically don't work for fruit trees. I'm like, well, that is just stupid.
Well, it's meant to, when you're trying to, because a lot of people make the mistake of like eliminating all the trees on their property.
Yeah.
Because they're like, yeah, I can cut down all these trees and it's easy, but you don't tap them. And so you don't have those long-term draws for the like oak resin, maple syrup, like all those things that you need for like the community center and stuff. Like you all of a sudden are out of it. And rather than having a long time kind of like tapper on it to get those out pretty quickly, it's kind of those like big regrets. And so I understand why there's like fertilizer for non-fruit trees.
Yeah.
Because fertilizer on fruit trees would just be so broken. Fruit is so expensive. Yeah. And you make so much money off of fruit. So, I'm a big, like, I also am, like my personal, like quick hack to getting a lot of money very quickly is I start with a fishing farm.
Yeah. I when I originally played, I don't think they had the other farm types yet. It was just the standard farm. And so like when I jumped into this, I saw like, here are all the other farm types you can pick. I'm like, that all seems like a lot. I'm just going to go ahead and stick with the standard thing I know.
I think that's fair. I'm a big fan of the fish farm because it's really easy picking up money quickly after doing all your chores and stuff, and then being right next to your bin and throwing out a line, just getting fish after fish after fish, and just shoving so much fish into the delivery bin. And then you just like, you make so much more money. It's like, it really is like getting a fortune, like by building pennies and dimes at a time. But it helps out so much because it's such a consistent income that you can then make those bigger purchases, those bigger investments that you want to make for better, bigger bag, better equipment. Because all of a sudden you're not like reliant on, like, oh, well, I want to do this, but I have to buy seeds. It's like, no, this is my supplemental income. So I have this. So basically by the time summer rolls around, I can buy a lot of seeds for the summer crops. Yeah. Because I wasn't reliant on kind of like mediocre amount of money you get after like kind of like the staggering you have to do otherwise in your first month with planting. So for me, that's always been like a game changer, but I've also known over the years that some people do not do well with that mini game.
Yeah, it's there are I'm good for like most of the fish difficulties, but then there are like the super wild, like the legendary ones where it's like, it's just going all over the place. I'm like, I don't freaking know how to try. Like, is there a better bobber I can equip that will give me a better run of this?
Yes,
I don't know.
There is. I'm a big fan of the fishing aspect of Stardew Valley. I've always been. And I have like really gotten into like the nuance of that. Also, like, I'm also the kind of person where it's like, oh yeah, do you want to improve your fishing, or do you want to improve, like, you want to get like sea trapping? And I'm like, I get sea trapping because you get free sea traps. And if you have the river, like if you have the river farm, you set them up by your house. Yeah,
that's my 3 traps that I got from that, I think, are out at the beach. And I'm like, I never check those.
Yep. So imagine, like, so in that case, all of a sudden I'm getting mollusks. I'm getting all these things. And that includes some of the super rare ones that the community center requires. Yeah. So I picked those up as well. Like, yeah, I have a great time with that. I love the river farm. I am hesitant to ever go away from the river farm. I'm thinking about maybe starting a new farm on the PC to take advantage of that new farm type that they launched. So
We should. That'd be a fun thing. Like another reason I got back into Stardew Valley is my sister has been like when the 1.6 patch came out. She and my brother-in-law, who have played a lot of like Stardew co-op stuff, because she played, like, we would take turns playing Harvest Moon Back to Nature or Harvest Moon 64 like when we were growing up. So I got her into the series. And shout out to my friend Luke, who was the one who originally had the Harvest Moon on Super Nintendo. That like I remember playing there and being like, my life is never the same after this. I need to get this game, because it wasn't like, that was not a game that was like being featured heavily in Nintendo Power or anything like that.
Shout out to on the similar vein, my friend Dave, who introduced me to Harvest Moon Back to Nature.
Yeah,
and they completely changed, like rewired my brain of like the games that I like to play.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so my sister and brother-in-law often are just playing together, like they're on side by side PCs, and they just play like on a farm together. So it'd be fun to jump in and do farm stuff with you. I don't actually know what co-op Stardew looks like or is like.
I do. I've seen other people do it. You basically and here's the thing, you can actually do a start, like your farm can be a start, like,
there's like a co-op, a community farm kind of thing of like, okay, each of you have like there's 4 corners kind of thing or whatever. That might be a fun thing to.
We might check that out.
I don't know. Yeah, I like, part of me is like, oh, let's play, and I'm like, I don't want to try and do with that hassle, because doing Baldur's Gate 3 burned me out on us trying to do a co-op let's play thing.
That's fair.
Like it worked for us in Elden Ring, where we could just kind of like, we were playing, or you were playing in my game, but like it was just my feed that we were ever doing. So yeah, I'm not particularly interested in doing it for like content, but hey, it'd just be a fun thing to sit down and do. So yeah, maybe let me know if when you want to start up a new farm, and I'll swing over in here and boot something up too. So I'm just having a ton of fun with it. Like, knowing now that I'm not playing the 1.6 stuff, I'm curious what all stuff was added in 1.6, especially given the like, oh, there's so much new stuff in here that I hadn't played from the original kind of 1.0 version. I'd like, shout out to that game, just and Concerned Ape just doing so well, and just like in the same like vein as like No Man's Sky, of just like, I'm just going to keep supporting this game and making money off of it because I love it.
Meanwhile, he's also developing a new game where it's like that chocolate factory one. That's like the haunted chocolate factory. What a great game developer. I'll never forget reading Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. He features pretty frequently in there, and he talks like it really is like, this is the life of an indie dev who I don't think I'll ever forget, because I never understood why he's like, I had to get and it's funny that the movie theater is a thing. Yep. The movie theater is a thing in Stardew Valley now, because I remember the bit about how to get out of the house and to take a break from developing a game, he got a part-time job at a theater. And like, that was like a thing. And I was always impressed, because it's like, when Jason Schreier was like talking to his wife and like, like this, and she goes, I mean, like, but like, I've always known him as this, like, this is something that he decided he wanted to do, and he's passionate about it. And so like, like, he's the kind of person, and it came over me. I'm like, this is the kind of person that has a talent and enough people that believe in him enough to look at what he's doing and say, okay, we'll support you in this. Like, this was not a person who said like, oh, well, I'm going to be a game dev and I'm going to do this. And I think that a lot of times when we think about indie game devs, we think of like, these crazy mad geniuses, or we think about these people who are like shysters and trying to like rip people off. And I feel like Concerned Ape kind of fits into the middle of that. It's like, I worked on this game for like 4 years. Because I'm like, this game doesn't exist and I want it to exist. So I made it, and I developed like my art style on it. And I developed my own personal like skills as an artist and a programmer. And I learned how to do everything myself. And it's like, that's crazy. And then he's like, and then like, I forgot what the other company is. But he's like, they came to me and they're like, we want
Chucklefish.
We want to, Chucklefish is like, we want to bring it to consoles. He's like, well, I can't do that. And they're like, but we can. And so like, he talks about how good it was partnering with them for that, making sure it could go over to consoles. And it's like, this is such a great story of like a guy who is now a millionaire. Yeah. But just who is still like, Jason Schreier followed up with him and is like, still the same guy. They still live in the same house. They still like, he's just working on this new game now. We talked about like, what game you want to work on next? He goes, I don't know, maybe one where you catch butterflies. It's like, are you into like catching butterflies right now? He goes, no, but I just want something that's like, he goes, I built a game that was like going at your own pace. And it's like, but how do I make a game that's even cozier and lazier than that? And it's like, this dude is like, yeah, there's like, it like fighting through burnout, fighting through like the feeling of like, like imposter syndrome, all of that. And to come out on top, making one of the best games of all time, like shout out to him continuing to support it.
Mm-hmm.
Like so much love for Concerned Ape.
Just speaking of like other like I've not encountered the swamp, the witches stuff too. I like as another thing that's in this game that like the other thing, like I pulled it up because shout out to the Stardew Valley wiki. Going back to the Game Facts conversation, that is probably the best, most comprehensive. It has every answer for every question I'm looking for. I use it all the time to figure out, okay, I need to deliver this to so-and-so. What the hell's their schedule? Where are they right now? And shout out to that being so incredibly thorough. But yeah, in doing that, I'm just like, I keep hearing things. I'm like, I don't know. And some of this might be like, oh, this is stuff that is in the 1.6 patch, and that's why I haven't encountered it or won't encounter it. But yeah, just like the like, oh my God, there are just so many new things. And I love that it's just a passion project of his, and so he's continuing to support it. And it takes me back to like, I remember meeting him very briefly at PAX West a number of years ago. I mean, like he was just kind of like working a little booth that he'd set up, in there, like Concerned Ape, and just be like I remember, I think me and Frank like walked by and visited with him a little bit, and it was just like this is cool. This like good for this guy. So yeah, shout out to Stardew Valley and just the joy and delight that it can, the joy, delight, and comfort that can come with it. Any other thoughts you want to throw out there for Stardew?
Yeah, for as much as you love, like I also should give a shout out to you because like a lot of people are like, yeah, like I've romanced all the people. It's like I've only ever romanced Penny, like you with Abigail, like Penny. And I want to give a moment to just talk about Penny for a second. Penny is the school teacher.
Sure.
She is the daughter of the only trailer park in Stardew Valley.
So I fully upgraded my house, and there is an option, like if you go to the carpenter after that, there's an option of like, okay, for like $500,000 and like 950 hardwood or something like that, do you want to buy a house or build a house for Pam? So I think you can replace the trailer part with an actual, like you can buy them a house. I think you've got a new goal there, Cam.
I have a new goal. I have to give my mother-in-law a house. Gosh, I like Penny is just like it. This is just like I love her character, and like all these characters on the surface level, they're like, yeah, they're fun villagers, but each of these characters has like something really great about them. Even a character like Alex, who is a like stereotypical jock, but it's like he's dealing with like the pressure of like, what does it mean for like, what does a successful like career life look like for him in the future? Like he has massive concerns about the future and like, what does it like, cause he lives with his grandpa who is in a wheelchair. And like, there's an interesting aspect of that kind of a person. And what does it mean? He goes past that aspect of it. There's the character that a lot of people that we know love, Sean, right? I think it's Sean is the Jojo Mart guy.
Morris is Shane.
Shane
is the guy that works at Jojo Mart. Yeah.
We have so many friends who love Shane so much. And
I feel like I don't know Shane at all because I would only ever see him working in Jojo Mart, or like when I do see him out of it, he's like, can't you see I'm busy? I'm like, no, you're not. You're here at the bar. like shut up.
You just got to give him a beer and he'll chill with you.
Yeah. He did. He gave me a beer on the dock or on like out by the lake at one point. And I was like, oh, this is I don't remember this scene.
Yeah, he's just a chill dude. He's a guy. He was working a really shitty 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But when Jojo Mart closes down, he starts working on Mary's Farm more, and he's just like a lot happier.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like as somebody who left the JoJo customer service world, like I feel you. I see you. I know you.
I booted up and it was like, do you want to skip the intro? I was like, no, I don't want to skip the intro. And I was glad I didn't, because I don't remember seeing this the first time around, but like when it's doing like the pan of like all the cubicle things, like the one after yours is just a straight up skeleton. It's just a dead person at that desk. I'm like, oh my God, this is extra bleak.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It is, as somebody who literally spent 5 years of my life in corporate call centers, like the bowels of corporate society, and just like the absolute, just like nightmarish hellscape that it is. Like this felt like this still resonates to me.
Yeah.
It still resonates so deeply. And so like, but for me, Penny is such a, like her character is, she wants to be a school teacher because when she was growing up in Stardew Valley, there wasn't any like kind of like educational resources really. And so for her, she wants to make sure that these kids, these two little kids, have a future that they can go off and do whatever they want. And they don't feel stuck in Stardew Valley. And on one level, it's like, I feel bad because I feel like I'm keeping her stuck in Stardew Valley by marrying her. But also, like, she's extremely happy with me. And like, we have a family. Like we have a kid. Probably will, like, as that kid gets older, we'll probably have another one on the way. And then like, she does such a great job of also like, shout out. I've got to the point. I love getting to the point where like you get to dance with your wife at or your wife or husband at the goddess festival.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not the goddess festival in Stardew Valley. It's like the spring flower festival or something like that.
Yeah. Something.
But it's like, it is this dance festival, and getting to dance with, like, she laughs. She goes, "Oh, are you going to ask me for the dance? Like, tee hee hee." And it's like, "Yes, I am." Like, let's dance. And it's just such a phenomenal, like, wonderful thing for being like starting off your first year, just kind of like being a nobody, not really knowing anybody, to then like getting to dance with like your, the mother of your child. And also shout out to like her, like there are so many days where she goes, "Yeah, like, oh, by the way, I watered all your plants."
Yeah. I don't remember that being a thing originally, but yeah, like, cause I went out and I started like, and I was like, it's like 6:50 a.m. How are all my plants watered? And then I went and talked to Abigail. She's like, "Yeah, I woke up early and watered your plant." I was like, "You're the best." And or like she'll give me food, or she'll
the food one is my favorite.
Take care of the animals. I'm like, well, I have an auto feeder, so you didn't really do anything with the animals. But
same thing after. I was like, I just installed a bunch of sprinklers. You didn't do anything to water my plants.
Yeah.
But I love
it's the thought that counts.
It's Thank the thought you, so much. You went around and you thought you watered all my plants, and know what?
Yeah.
What do you know? It was a great day that you did that, because my sprinklers weren't working today. I forgot to set them for the new time zone or whatever. More importantly, she fills the water dog bowl, which is great, because on my farm the water dog bowl is like further away.
I did not know that was a thing you had to do. I've never.
You've never put water in the watering bowl?
No, I didn't know. In the dog's dish?
Yeah.
No, I did not know that was a thing. Is there a thing to do with the horse? Because I finally, like, I didn't get the stable for so long, but I finally did, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I can only just like ride the horse. I don't feel like there's like a brush thing like in Harvest Moon.
No, there isn't. It's just just that.
No, I did not know that there was that I could to give my dog water. Sorry. I don't even remember what I've named you. Shadow, I think I went with Shadow. Anyway, I'm just looking here at the wiki of like all the other things. So yeah, like once the house fully upgraded, there are house renovations, which I don't remember, where it's like, okay, here's adding a southern room, opening the bedroom up, adding a corner, adding an attic, adding this little.
There's so many things to add. I can't wait.
Yeah, there's so many things, and then there is well, you can paint the house, which again is not a thing I remember being able to do. But yeah, community upgrades. The first one being the trailer. You can basically build a new house for Pam and Penny. And then the second one, and the trailer it's 500,000 and 950 wood, not hardwood. So I'm like, oh, I could knock that out right now, probably. Actually, I don't think I have 500,000, but I could knock it out pretty quickly. The other thing, I don't remember. I feel like I probably did the sewer. Yeah, I went into the sewer.
Yeah, the sewers were OG.
But I didn't. He now has a like scepter that allows you to like transport anywhere for like $2 million or something like that. I'm like, well, I know what I'm saving up for that. But there's also another community upgrade after you do the trailer that is town shortcuts that opens up like
nice
quick shortcuts from like one side of the map to another kind of thing. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to use that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, shout out to just all the new things that are in this game from, when I originally played it. God, 2016 I think is when it came out, right?
Yeah.
Like 8 years ago. So yeah, I'm just enjoying all of that, enjoying all the
This
fun.
was my second. This is my number 2 game of the year that it came out.
Oh god, I remember what my game of the I remember I had a ton of fun with this one because I did I did my little
Trevor Trove
Trove
yeah.
writing, where it was like, okay, here is me. Who's this girl that beat me at the egg festival? This Abigail girl. Screw her. I don't like her. And then oh, she likes games. Oh no. I know. I see where this is going. And then I basically treated my playthrough like a diary as part of my Trevor Trove writings, and just had a ton of fun with it. So yeah, I'm trying to look and see where it ended up. 2016 Trevor Starkey Game of the Year. Trevor's
my Game of the Year
games of 2016.
Yeah, my top game of 2016 was Overwatch 1. So.
Oh, that's. I went to click, and the first link that came up was my my Irrational Passions top 10 games of the year instead of my own. So hey, there we go. There we go. Best of 2016. It was. Oh, that can't be right. Oh, those are the games I didn't play. Okay, where's my best of list for that year? Ah, dang it. Okay. It was my number 5. Wow, that was way too low. Just looking back at this. Why did I give The Witness my game of the year? That was dumb. That is one of those I very much loved it. I very much loved it at the time, and it was that the satisfaction of solving the puzzles in that game. But yeah, that does not hold up. Yeah, because I had The Witness, then Uncharted 4, then Doom, then Dishonored 2, and Stardew Valley. And of those, I would say Dishonored 2 I still really love, and the Dishonored games are great. Doom 2016 was a phenomenal kind of rebirth of the franchise. Uncharted 4's Thief's End is the best Uncharted game, so I'm fine with that and where that was. But yeah, I think if I were to redo this list now, I think Stardew would have a more special place in my heart. Because of it was very much Stardew being early 2016 suffered from the recency bias of a lot of those other games, I think. So
yeah,
wah, wah. But hey, I also gave Final Fantasy 15 my number 9 game of the year because as much as I hate a good chunk of that game, I did really love a lot of that game.
Yep.
Up until a certain point. Anyway, well. I'm glad we're both having fun, just jumping back into Stardew and kind of enjoying it. Yeah, shout out to that. Any final thoughts before we wrap up there, Cam?
No, I'm good. I think that we've had a really great show. Yeah. Check out Fallout. Infection Free Zone is really cool. Keep an eye on it. And Stardew Valley continues to be one of the greatest games of all time. So
there you go. All right. Well, I think that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you, Cam, for joining me. You follow Cameron at RevCabot, 2 B's and 2 T's. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, check out, I mentioned it earlier, we watched Renegade Nell for That D Plus show. Go check that out. We also have recent episodes where we went over X-Men 97 and just more. Disney Plus continues to kind of surprise us with some really solid content, even some of the stuff that we weren't anticipating or expecting. So.
Cool. You follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. I will shout out my Let's Plays. My Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth Let's Play series will wrap up this coming week. Is the final week. We've got episodes Tuesday, Thursday, and then the finale on Saturday. And this whole week is basically the finale chapter of the game. So minor spoilers for tomorrow's episode, Tuesday's episode, but we're gonna fight a frickin' shark, so go check that out. So yeah, shout out to just the absolute insanity of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and the Yakuza Like a Dragon series as a whole. Just always a ton of fun, and this was a fun one to do as a Let's Play series of I'll do the side stories and stuff, on my own time, but I'll keep kind of main story stuff here on the channel. So yeah, go check that out. All right, you can follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please remember to rate, subscribe, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.